Okay. And while Father Severio is away for his 3-month sabbatical, I'm sitting in his place, okay, here at St. Rita's. Mrs. Olson and the other teachers at St. Rita's School, they want to give the best preparation for the sacraments we can, but the parents, we are your helpers, because you are the ones who are the models, who are the first teachers of your children. You know that, but it has, even when it comes to sacraments, you are the first one. So all of our teachers have done years of study, of preparation to provide your children with trustworthy education, and we can count on them to know and to continue to study in their fields, whatever their field. It may be history, it may be mathematics, whatever, but they're working at that, always trying to be better at that. And now you are now preparing your child both for baptism, for first reconciliation, Holy Eucharist, and we want to assist you as concretely as possible in this preparation. We don't live in a perfect world, and there are maybe always two parents who can be at home with their children to help them prepare. But thank you for being here tonight to participate. Let's look at the sacraments just a little bit. Baptism, Eucharist, confirmation are what we call the sacraments of initiation. That's to become a Christian, to become a full-fledged Christian. When we receive all of these, we are considered a full member of the church. The sacrament of reconciliation is a healing sacrament, and it's to help us to regain that good relationship with God, and to live the joy of the children of God. So, when you gave birth to your child, you mothers did a lot. You had to have a healthy baby. You learned a lot about while you were preparing. What to eat, how to rest, how to do many things, and those whose children are going to be baptized we believe are going to be born again, and they're being born as children of God, and that means making sure that they are properly nourished for that by a family that who will care for them and support them, help them to be the best Christian they can. And we do this by sharing special times. It's talking to them about the God that we believe in, the one who is so great, we can see God's work in the sun and the moon, the stars, rivers, etc., and then spontaneously thanking God for His creation, by thanking God for sending Jesus and Mary, who is just like us. Mary was just like us, but she always said yes to God. Um, I remember when I was a deacon, I was preparing a young man to be baptized. So I got a great big bowl, filled it with water, and I asked him, "What does water do? You know, what are the things that water does? You know, uh, it, it quenches our thirst. It makes us feel good when you know, when we've been uh, tired sometimes, just stepping into a shower or whatever, and that God is going to do this when we are baptized. He's building us and strengthening uh, our gratitude, our prayers, and uh, these are all things that you can do. Just whatever you're doing. If you're doing the wash, if you're doing and advert, you know, try to bring attention, you know, how wonderful this carrot is, you know, that uh, uh, God has given us, and there's so many things that um, and then so building that attitude, prayer in the morning, etc. You know, and of course, this introduce our child to the community, to the that we are going to belong with, that we're going to with, and that means by attending mass on a Saturday or Sunday, you know, with your child. These they're none of them perfect, you know. They're probably that, but God has made them our spiritual brothers and sisters. So much, it's much for those who are preparing their children for First Communion or reconciliation. It would be good, the signs of the Eucharist as in plain sight in your home, you know, a cross, a Bible, uh, maybe even a bread and grapes, and then just take each piece and let your children hold them and ask if they want something about what they're holding. You know, we don't have lots of information to the child. God has speak children, and we can help draw it out and become uh, more in God and also in love with Jesus. Um, so I would invite you, you know, when your children, do you want to say something? You are not the first one uh, from your heart. Let them be the first ones to share from their heart. Um, Perhaps you have I don't know if people do this anymore or not. You know, my older sister used to read to me before I went to bed. Um, and she would read to me uh, uh, things that would soothe me, but usually were stories from the Bible. And if you have your Bible, you don't have to read exactly from the word for word. Tell that story. Tell the story. Hold the Bible, but tell the story. Who's called "Give Us This Day," It's a great little booklet. It comes out a month, and it has a morning prayer and an evening prayer, has all the readings and the prayers for the Mass, has a revision, and there's always a saint for each day. So like that, would probably also be helpful. Maybe making how to make Sunday a special day for your child. If you have a meal together, hopefully you do a couple of times a week anyway, maybe lighting a candle there and just Jesus, light of the world, come and be with us. Some as simple as that. Or if there's a hymn song that you like to sing, these are parts of the Mass. These are all parts of preparing for First Holy Communion. Children learn from us. There's a saying, Oya no Sanako Mite Manapu, which means a child looks at the back of the father or the mother and learns. They look at what mother doing, what mom and dad are saying, what attitudes mom and dad have, and that is how they learn. They learn how to be a mother, they learn how to be a father, they learn how to be a good, how to be a gentle person, how to be an understanding person. All of this is maybe in preparation for the sacrament of reconciliation. Not a list of sins, that I did that, I told a lie, I took something, I was nasty with my brother, whatever. These are concrete things, but it's do I love my brother enough? Do I love my mom and dad enough? I confess that I have not been loving my mom and dad enough. I have not been loving my schoolwork. I haven't been kind to my brothers and sisters or whatever. These are things that we, the models for especially mom and dad, are, and always, always encouragement. There's too many people who are telling you that you're wrong, not so good, etc. But encourage them, okay? Well, that's I prepared. That's all I prepared. It may be very disappointing to the teachers who want a little bit more, but ask me questions or as to how else I can this preparation, okay? So hand it back to Mrs. Olson.
Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Miss Elizabeth, who is our resident expert. And she's going to kind of, don't take that personally, Father.
Of course not. Of course not.
Just that she's the resident. Miss Elizabeth, go ahead and unmute yourself. And so I'm going to invite the teachers to give some individual guidance. And Father, what you said was lovely and a perfect example of the role that the parent needs to play, that of course your children do what you do. So they follow your example when you take them to church, or if church is a priority, if kindness is a priority, if goodness is a priority, then your children make it a priority as well. Thank you so much.
Father, you are very good, and exactly what we've been saying all along to the parents and to the children. Today I was in the classroom, both in the second grade and the third graders come in, and then the upper grades. And I use a little gimmicky stuff, the transformers, the toys, how they are to transform. And as soon as I walked into the classroom, the children say transformers, and they tell me change of life, they have to change in behavior. But what I'd like you, if you would please, is mention to the parents about conscience. How do we form the conscience of a child? You mentioned many things, which is exactly right, but the concrete examples of forming a good conscience. Let me just give you a quick example of this that I use in the classroom. Not only what your conscience tells you to do is good, and how do you know your conscience? And then I encourage that beauty will help you to develop also a good conscience, because when you see beauty and loveliness and lovingness, then you have a good conscience. But I think if you could speak to the parents about conscience formation of the children, that would, I think, be helpful a little bit.
It's been a while since I'm doing formation for children. It's basically learning what is right and good and beautiful against what's wrong and ugly and thing. I believe that there are, when we were growing up, our parents wanted us to be the best people that we could be, and we made mistakes about. I remember I was so taken by fire, and I played with matches. I don't know if children do that anymore, but
we tell them not to.
There's not. Fortunately, there's not too many matches around these days, but still, my mother saw me playing with the match, and she sat next to me, and she had my book, and she put out one of the pages, and she said, "No, what you were doing is to get rid of and ruin something that you love." And I believe I stopped playing with matches because I could see that that good thing that. So how does there are many things. I mean, children and parents have so many choices in life. It can be how you dress, how you beauty, and and sometimes we lose our perspective and kind of go overboard. I know that are things that women love to do, whether it's their nails or their eyelash, to make themselves, I suppose, more attractive. But there are, that's the use, that's air of a creature that God has given us, money. How do we use money? Money is not a bad thing. Money is a good thing, and we can use it for good things. And teaching your child how to make choices that benefit not only themselves but also benefit other people. I think that is also another form of forming conscience. There are many natural things that happen in our life, in our bodies even, that don't understand, especially children growing up. They don't understand what's happening. But speaking with them, and it's not, it's good, it's bad, not that kind of thing. It's God has made us as marvelous creatures, as fantastic beings, and every part of us has a role to play, and that role is for work. It's not just for our play, whether it's that the words that we use, that the added, or eating without thinking, and just consuming to watch your children, so because they're learning things outside of the home, also, that aren't necessarily good things. And I think the best conscious formation is looking, talking with the children and asking them questions, letting them talk about things. And it's not easy for them because they don't have all the words. That's not an presentation, sister. I'm sorry, or Miss, but if does that help?
That does very much help, Father. And I think Father really brought home that the home provides the environment for the child to be the best they could be, the positive child. We Christians, we in the Catholic community are we must be countercultural. And today, I'm speaking for many parents, it's very difficult for parents to be countercultural, to be different, to bring up children in a very Christian way. And when the child says, but everybody else, or this is what I saw on TV, you as a parent are rooted in your own faith and strong in your faith, where the child then honestly can say, oh, yes, my mom and dad never use bad language. And so when the child slips and says something at home, then you really can say, we don't use that kind of language. That's countercultural. And those are the ways the child will learn, like Father said, what they see, what they hear. And you know all this, parents. But the important part is that you're brave enough to say to that child, honey, we respect ourselves, we respect each other. We don't talk to each other that way. One of the things I mentioned because we were doing through the 10 Commandments and using God's name in vain. And again, children watch movies or they're in an environment, or sometimes the name of Jesus slips out in a very bad way. I always tell them, how come when I hit my finger, I don't say, oh, Elizabeth? Why do I say, oh, Jesus? And they laugh and they said, yes. And then I said, next time you hear, parents, this is maybe a good way to do this. Next time you hear someone on TV use Jesus's name in a bad way, you can say Jesus, and quietly I say to them, bow your head and say, Jesus, I love you. And you're making up for that person who just used the bad way, Jesus's name. Little things like that makes the soul sensitive, makes the child know and understand, like Father says, not the now thou shalt not, but rather, yes, we do. And this is a way we approach it in the classroom in a very loving and respectful way. And I encourage you parents to please ask the children, what are you learning in class? What did the teacher talk about confession? And would you make sure that the children know their prayers, their prayer of sorrow? Those children who are to be baptized must know the creed, the Apostles' Creed, must know it because that's one of the absolute requirements. And so the prayers that we sent home in that packet, not all of them, and most of them they know, but definitely ask them to think about what they're ready to say to Father, not 10. I said to them today, not 10, not 20, not 100 sins. I said, think about what you're going to tell Father that bothers you the most. That when you didn't tell the truth, you said you didn't have homework, and you said, no, I have no homework. And then you knew it was not true. And then it bothered you and it bothered you. And what was that? And the child then says, Father says, ask them, then what happened when you didn't do your homework? And then you bring home and a note from the teacher, well, I lied, I didn't tell the truth. And the child is able to admit the truth. It takes patience, it takes a lot of prayer, but it happens because the child wants to be good. And so that's how we approach it in the classroom. I hope that helps a little bit to the approach we're doing in the classroom. Father, how is that? Okay?
Sounds good to me. It sounds good to me. Yes, sister. Here,
Please come on.
listen to me. I was raised by sisters, so all Catholic school teachers are sisters.
And the parents know that I have a background in that hood.
Mrs. Jornlin, do you want to add anything? Do you have anything to add for the parents?
I would just like to make sure that they're prepared. You could ask them, are you prepared with what you're going to say to Father? I've been telling the children about examination of conscience and different places that they could go. They could sit in a quiet room. They could, when they go to church on Sunday, they could pray to the Holy Spirit and help them decide what their sins are going to be, what they're going to say. But the night before they come, just make sure that they know in their hearts what they're going to say, so they're not going to be going up to Father and not knowing what to say. The prayer that they all have to know is the act of contrition, and we say that every day. We've been practicing that in the classroom, so if you could say that every night with them, that would really be helpful also.
And most of the prayers that they're referencing, parents, we as a whole school are familiar with these prayers because we say them in our daily prayer, our daily morning assembly. We have a rotation of traditional prayers that are important for the children to know. And so while if you say, could you recite the act of contrition, they might not acknowledge it in that manner, but they're familiar with the prayer because they pray it every day or every week with the school. So just refresh their memories, and it helps to refresh our own memories as well.
Yeah, that prayer of sorrow, they do say prayer of sorrow in school. One of the things that you might as parents begin, if you've not done already, before the child falls asleep, think of things that you did really well today? What was good today? And this was the example I gave today in the classroom. Oh, dear Jesus, today I was really a good person. I helped my classmate when they didn't know something. And you know, Jesus, I set the table for my mother today, and she didn't even have to tell me. I really feel I'm a good person. So ask the children to find at least three, Trinitarian, three things that is good about the day. How were they loving? How were they kind? Like Father said, center it around respect and love, because the two commandments are love God and love others. And then now, this is the examination of conscience. What good did I do? All right, now let's look at, was there anything today that was not so good? Yeah, well, Jesus, and always ask them to say Jesus. So they tell Jesus in the examination of conscience, Jesus, today I was so angry that I pushed one of the kids on the playground. I didn't like doing that. I'm sorry. Do not allow them to go more than 2. 2 is enough for the nighttime. So if they can't think of 2, 1 is sufficient. But again, conscience is, this is who I am. I am loving, I am kind, I am good, I am this, but not always. It's not a perfect world, as Father says. So therefore, think of one thing that was not so good. And now you say, oh my God, I'm truly sorry for my sins in choosing to do wrong and fail. And then that's the prayer of sorrow. Okay, that's the exam for each night. So Mrs. Jorlin, that's how you did in the classroom too, right? I believe.
Yes, yes, that's exactly.
Okay.
Parents, do you have any questions for our panel of experts here? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Do we have a date?
The date for first reconciliation, Mrs. Jorlin?
Yes, it's March 22nd. That's been, should have been sent home. I know it was in my newsletter.
I sent it in our newsletter as well. I think they're
Oh.
asking for a date for the actual first communion.
The first communion date.
That one is first Sunday in May. May 1st at the 8 o'clock mass.
Thank you.
The reconciliation, I believe, is at
6
6:30.
p.m. Oh, 6:30, you're right, 6:30.
6:30. So if you can please have the children there at least 10 minutes before the latest, 15 would be better, because we're going to go over just a little song that I'm teaching them about sorrow, and just they're gonna have name tags, and we'll practice ahead of time, but we'd like to have everybody together. So if you can be there before 6:30, that would really be helpful.
And then Sunday dress.
And yes, thank you for that evening Sunday dress. You can.
I have a question.
Yes,
They're making, obviously it's their first time, a reconciliation confession in preparation of their first communion. How important is it to instill in the children to take them, not only just this time, because it's in preparation of communion, but to continue to take them so that they can get in a habit of not, I know, like when I made my first communion at the same age, second grade, I don't think I did another confession until I was 20 years later, until I became an adult, because my parents never thought that it was important or that it was something that we needed to do. Now, as an adult and educating my own self, I obviously go more, but as a child, is it not to be done as frequent, or to educate our children and to bring them up that way?
Father, would you like to address that?
Certainly. I always encourage, at least in the beginning, the children don't, they remember the act of contrition for a while. If you don't use it, you lose it. So I encourage them at least to come once a month.
Mhm.
Now, it's so much easier. Either mom or dad are going to confession, that I'm going to confession, but you want to go? Sort of an invitation to the child. We at the parish normally would have a penitential service in Lent and one in Advent, and that's an invitation for everyone. This year we're not at St. Rita having a penitential service in Lent. Other parishes that are having it, but I always, the possibility easy to remember is we have 4 seasons, and just to come, each season to confession. You could put it on the calendar, mark it on the calendar. If you mark it on the calendar that everyone can see it, then it makes it a lot easier to not to plan other things. Hey, okay.
Mrs. Austin.
Also, I just wanted to point out that, we believe that every time we receive a sacrament, we receive grace in our souls. So the more frequently, just like when we go to mass, we're all eager to receive communion because we want that grace in our soul. You want that grace in your soul from every sacrament. So reconciliation is a great opportunity to, you'll save yourself some money. You won't need as much therapy because you're talking right to the expert. You're going to talk right to Jesus and let him know, you can unload all of your anxieties and all of your concerns right there. And not only that, you receive grace in your soul for that communication with God. From my childhood, I would just share that that's what I learned as a child, and I find that as an adult, it's very freeing, very liberating to go to confession and just you come out feeling like your halo is shining, like your soul is clean and you're ready to face the world with God beside you. So why would you certainly want to encourage your children to feel that freedom and that grace. So it's a beautiful sacrament.
Get to that point of, is it important for the children? It sure is important for all of us, but as a family, you certainly can, like Father says, put it on your calendar. I know families who go every second Saturday together with their children to confession. And they schedule it. That's a family routine. Now, like Mrs. Olson says, I grew up in that era when we went every Saturday. And in school, I went to Catholic school all of my life. And elementary school, we went to confession every month, once a month.
Mhm.
The whole school went to confession. But now we say parents are able to do this. We take the children at Advent and Lent into school, but you certainly, if you are a parent who says, I want my child to go regularly, please let me applaud you. That would be perfectly fine. And like Mrs. Olson says, the grace of the sacrament is unmeasurable. So thank you.
Definitely. Mrs. Pascua, did you have a question for us? Go ahead and unmute.
Hello, good evening, parents, father, and teachers. My question is there going to be a practice for the first communion for the second graders? And is it going to be combined with the parish kids, or like what are we expecting at this ceremony that we will be, or this sacrament that we will be attending?
Excellent question. So the school celebration takes place separate from the rest of the parish. The parish has two other days that they celebrate their first communion. They do one in Spanish and one in English. And so they have those on two separate days. For the school, it will be that May 1st date. The children practice with their teacher in class. And so they will be, versed in what they will need. So you won't need to worry about that. We'll be sending home information. You'll get an email and a paper copy of what to wear, what to have with them, what not to have with them. I know kids get lots of beautiful gifts of rosaries and little white gloves for girls, and the little missal. Those things you should keep at home, just because kids tend to forget them, and then they're left in the church after, and it's harder for the kids to catch back up to them. Or perhaps the parent, you can get them blessed, ask Father to bless them that morning, and then hand them off to the parents, so that the children aren't losing their items in the church. But all of that kind of the logistical information we'll send home to you as we get closer to the dates. Okay,
Thank you.
sure. Any other questions? Okay, if you have not signed your name into the chat to show that you are here, present, and accounted for, please sign into the chat before you log out. That way we can keep track of who was here with us tonight, and make sure that we have all the information for everyone. So we can keep track of who needs to catch up on the information they might have missed.
Mrs. Austin, may I just be brave enough to ask the parents? I've asked this many years as I prepared these children. If you're brave enough to ask your family and friends not to give monetary gifts for First Communion, they may give it to you for expenses for your reception, but the children should be given religious articles, script, Bible, rosaries, everything that Mrs. Austin mentioned. And the reason for this is when they come back the next day, there's a major discussion on the amount of money they received. And once again, the importance of the sacrament, the reception of Jesus, is totally lost because the child, granted, children are children, will then discuss the amount of money. Oh, I got so much. Oh, but I got this much. So if family members give you money, please ask them to give it to you as an adult for the expenses, not as a gift, a reward, a financial reward for the child for that day. If you're brave. I have to be brave to say this.
Be brave. It's a God thing. It's a good thing. Any
Mrs.
other
Orantes, did you have a question, Mrs. Orantes?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My question is, do we need to make any donation for the First Communion ceremony before that happen, or do we have to, it's not part of it?
The preparation, what normally if you're receiving the sacrament of baptism, you're receiving your preparation through the church religious education. And there's a donation that goes to that program that's administered through the rectory, through the parish. Since your child is receiving the sacraments through the school, your tuition and so on covers the cost to administer the program. Okay. I think iPhone has a hand raised.
Oh,
And,
it's Isaiah and Daniel's mom. I had
Okay.
a question about, so they're doing their baptism as well. Is that gonna also be on the same day as the communion?
It won't. I believe it will not. It depends on the age of your children. I know Isaiah is in 7th grade. And he may be, so did you ever get in touch with the rectory about the preparation for the Easter Vigil?
So no, Daniel's the only one that is missing the baptism.
Right. Okay.
So I didn't know if he was doing baptism at around the same time, or did he have to do it before, or?
It'll be before.
Okay.
Yes.
And
So
that's going to
you'll
be
need to
done
reach
through
out to the rectory.
okay, it's going to be done with the rectory. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Great. That's a very good question. Thank you for clarifying. Okay,
I
other
have
questions?
Yes. So for the first communion, do the kids get to get like a godfather, or in Spanish you say it padrinos for the first communion? I don't know if on here do they get to get
Right.
one too?
So it's not our tradition here. I know
Okay.
that in some Spanish cultures it is their
Yes.
tradition. And so we don't negate that opportunity, but in our ceremony, there is no addition of godparents. Is that Father, Miss Elizabeth, is that accurate?
Correct.
I believe, even though there a specific role during First Communion or recreation, the role of the baptismal godparents is a lifetime role. It's not a one padrino role. It is a life that the godparents promise to look after the religious upbringing or of the child at baptism. So it's very proper for them to.
Right. It's, yeah, you, as Father was saying, it's, I have 8 godchildren, and even though some are adults, we still talk about, like, how's everything going? I try to still be a reference for them, or a resource or support in their faith, or in just in life in general, because the more involved those godparents are in life, the more your example shows the children, to live their faith. So if the godparents are living their faith, that's the example that your children need to see. So certainly supporting them in their reception of sacraments is beautiful.
Okay, thank you. I have a question, Miss Olsen. This is Marta Valeria del Real's mom.
Yes.
I didn't get the date on the first communion. I missed it. What is the date for the first communion?
May 1st.
May 1st. Is that the Sunday at 8 a.m.?
Sunday at 8 a.m.
Okay. And they will be wearing that dress, their dress that day?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That was it. Thank
Sure.
you so much.
I see another hand raised. Feel free to speak up.
Mrs. Olsen, it's me again, Mrs. Sorantes. How many people can we go with us to attend to the ceremony?
As many people as you would like. There are no restrictions on attendance at Mass. The only reason we ever had restrictions was because of COVID. COVID is in the past, we'll say. So bring your family. It's a wonderful place to celebrate.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Sure. Mrs. Pascua?
Hi, sorry, it's me again. So is there going to be like a reserved area for the first communicants and then their families? If it's an 8 o'clock mass, it's going to be packed? Isn't the church usually very full?
Unfortunately, the church is not packed.
It's not?
But
Okay, good.
it will be great to pack it. So let's plan on doing that.
Okay.
There will be reserved rows for each student and their family. So for
Oh,
each
good.
student who's receiving their sacrament, they'll have a reserved spot. So plan
Okay,
to fill it with all of your family.
thank you.
Sure.
Will there be a will there be a photographer?
We will have a professional photographer, who the same photographer who does our school photos will be there to take individual photos. We do, let me see. Yes, we do also do a group photo. So it's important that you arrive on time, and it will be before Mass. So this is really significant, that you arrive at 7:30, which is, I know, horribly early. But if you arrive at 7:30, we can assemble the group at 7:45 to take a group photo, and then be able to have you seated and have the children not be rushed or anxious about their sacrament. Okay.
Have to invite me to the first communion also. I won't be a regular at, although it's May 1st, right?
May
Yes.
1st.
I'll be in Ireland, I'm afraid.
Oh, you poor thing.
It sounds terrible. I hope to be in Ireland someday too.
Oh, enjoy. Oh, my
Well,
goodness.
yeah, we will definitely.
I'll
be
send
thinking of
a
you.
prayer from Ireland, okay?
Sounds wonderful.
It does sound wonderful. I'm happy you'll be in Ireland. Well, Father, you're always invited. You've done so much with our children, and we love how you engage the children. And so consider yourself a part of our community forever.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions for our panel of experts before we close down for the night? Well, I want to say thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, this is Gail's mama again.
Sure.
So there's nothing we have to do on our end. Well, you take them to Mass and that, but we don't have to fill any documents for the first communion. Just like, is there any extra things that we have to do?
Really, it's modeling for your student and helping them learn their prayers and creating that those great routines at home. Say grace before meals, say prayers at night, say the act of contrition. When I was a child, we learned to say the act of contrition. And so I still say the act of contrition every night. That's a wonderful, soothing, calming way to make your peace with God before you sleep. It's great for your kids to understand that. You can say, like, isn't this nice that we can go to bed with a light heart, that, we made our peace with God and apologized for what we did wrong and acknowledge that we're going to try to do better. And if you can, if you personally can pray, infuse prayer into your life, into the things that you do, and model that to your children, it's really significant to say, when I get up in the morning, I just say, Jesus, help me to be the best I can be today. And model to your children that, we offer our day to God, that we apologize for our sins, that we do our very best, that we are made in God's image. So we're great. How can you not be good when you're made in God's image? This is a positive thing. Reconciliation is positive, not negative. So many people have a negative outlook about confessing our sins, but it's freeing and it's liberating. and it's a gift. So if we can approach those things with a positive outlook, it gives our children that positive outlook as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much to our teachers for being here tonight, for working late. Father, thank you so much for working late. We appreciate all of you for joining in tonight, and I'm excited to have so many families receiving sacraments and so many children wanting to learn more about God. So what a huge blessing we have.
Amen.
All right. Have a wonderful night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night now.
Good night.